right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, everyone. As you know, my name is Lewis. I'm here with the BoSTEM initiative here at United Way. We're here with a virtual STEM career conversation, and I'm so excited to jump into today's topic because, as you know, our virtual opportunities are a great chance for students like you to get a chance to hear what is it like to pursue a STEM career pathway. So today we have a special guest who's coming from a company that's really new to the BoSTEM family, and we're super excited to hear more about his story, how he kind of established his career pathway. But before we do that, I just wanted to say thank you to all the folks who have taken the time to join us today. We will be talking about identity and how identity shows up in the STEM career pathways. But without further ado, I want to pass over the mic to our special guest who is joining us today, Jose Silveiras. Hello, Jose.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us as well, Jose. So yeah, let's get this started. So Jose, as you know, we're here to talk about STEM career pathways and super excited to have you joining us. Let us know, where do you work? What area of STEM are you involved in? And what is your role?
So I work in a company named Ultragenyx. I do everything that is pertaining with the clinical operation management of a particular clinical trial program. I work in a very specific area called Wilson disease. It's a rare disease, and I'm located here in the Massachusetts area. So I joined the company about 1 year ago. So my role is clinical operations, which I was more than happy to talk about everything that I do during the day, but I'm the one connecting all the dots between all the rest of the departments, regulatory, CMC, supply chain, compliance, quality, etc. So I'm kind of like the everything, all the information gets fed to my team and myself, and we make sure that we get sites ready to implement clinical research.
Super important role. Wow, students, if you caught any of that, we know that we're talking with someone that's at the leadership level at a company. So listen closely to what he's sharing with us today. Jose, thank you so much for introducing yourself. We're going to jump right into the meat of our conversation today and talk about identity. Let's start off our conversation with how did you kind of come to understand your identity as something important or something that is a part of who you are? Tell us about where you grew up, what your schooling was like, and whether or not you traveled or immigrated at all.
Yeah, so I come from a very small country that named Venezuela, that is in South America. I actually have my high school, my part of my university, my medical school was actually done in Venezuela. And identity is different wherever you are, right? So my identity, I always say that I have two different identities, but then I came to this country when I was on my early 20s, really early 20s. And pretty much, my identity that I was identified when I was back in Venezuela kind of changed a little bit because it's a new culture, it's new processes, new people. So I have to adapt to whatever, the new migrating to another country represent a big change in anything that you do, even the food that you eat. So that was kind of my, translation between Venezuela and me in a new country, just adapting to the new guidelines and rules.
Absolutely. So did you find that you were, like finding a community or a group of people that shared your identity? Did you feel like an outsider? Like, how did that feel for you?
So you feel like an outsider because you don't know the language, the way other people know the language, and I still have an accent. I've been living in this country for over 20 years, and I still have the accent. So there was a lot of insecurities about being the color I am, maybe the way I am, the how I act, how I speak, and being in science, you really need to be poised and to the point. And what I wanted to do is what I'm doing right now. So I felt like it was a challenge that became an opportunity and a learning curve just to identify myself as a Latino man that is living in another country and decided to actually pursue science uh, forever.
I love how you said that. You saw the challenge as an opportunity. That speaks to exactly what the Boston program tries to communicate to our students, specifically the growth mindset, knowing that things can be challenging. You will come across obstacles, but it's also an opportunity to grow, to challenge yourself, to learn something new, to meet new people. So thank you for mentioning that. So, Jose, that definitely is important, accents and having an understanding of your identity, how you fit into different spaces definitely does change. Really, really exciting to hear. I was, wanting to hear a little bit more about how you came to realize your identity as like an important thing or something that is how do I say obvious in a way. I know that sometimes walking into a space or a community, even sometimes you might have folks that are primarily white or primarily Hispanic or primarily black. How do you kind of see your identity showing up at work?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that it has been easy. I mean, I started working in this area over 20 years ago, so society, culture, have progressed, and so some of the company cultures. So I don't gonna tell anyone that was easy for me to be a Latino man with an accent, short, brown. I do believe that you start to overcome your fears by showing people how much knowledge do you have and how do you show your skills, make people to actually start building respect from who you are as a professional, and then all the color and the accent and wherever you're from or your ethnicity or your gender, it kind of goes away because the people see you as a body of knowledge, part of the team, and again, it's not easy to do. And I have to mention, I was really, really shy when I was younger, and part of me was more shy because the accent issue. So you have to kind of let it go and just again, the knowledge that you have and how you transmit that knowledge to the people that are working in your team will make all those barriers go away. You're always going to find somebody that maybe don't agree with you, but that's part of life, right?
Right.
That how you convey that, how you not fight, but how do you, cope with people that maybe have a different view. But don't let anybody tell you that you cannot do science or you cannot do something related to science because you can if you want, if that's your path.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think what you're getting at here, Jose, is that access piece, right? Like this is something available to all students, and even though we might understand the environment might not be what we have come to understand or would like. What I'm trying to get at here is the homogeneity of the field. We understand that folks or traditional understandings of folks who work in STEM industries are white males, right? And so getting perspectives like yours and students who kind of share your identity is really important to hear about. I think you mentioned that your identity is something that later doesn't become as important, like it's ignored. I think that's really important because it speaks to the skill set that the person brings to the table. So thank you for mentioning that.
No problem.
So we talked a little bit about what it's like, to pursue a STEM career pathway with an identity that's a little bit different from the common understanding or the stereotypical understanding. We also are talking about this as a strength. This is a unique trait that folks can bring to the table, but then it also fades away, right? It's not something that becomes the end all be all, like, oh, because you're a brown person in STEM, this is why we need you. No, 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 no. I just want to shift the conversation a little bit and talk about your experiences about how you influence spaces as a Latino man in the STEM world. Did you find that you were in meetings and bringing a really cool perspective? Did you have experience that other folks didn't really know? How did you kind of use your identity to your advantage?
So, I mean, that's actually a really good point. When you have a multicultural background and you do, at least the area of my job is to talk to people and to doctors and to nurses and to scientists all over the world, right? And having the opportunity to have the family I have, and that was very multicultural, and also the opportunity to travel around the world and work in some of these countries and live in some of these countries, really broaden my horizons about accepting everyone as they are, and also relating of how can I talk to somebody that maybe look different than I look, or that their ethnicity is different, or the cultural background is different. So I think for me, what I bring to my team, or to the teams that I work, is the diversity and the global experience. So, one thing that may work in the US is not going to work in France or in India or in Sub-Saharan Africa. So I think that's my kind of my big ticket. Is like I see things differently because I was not born in this country, I was not raised in this country, but I have the opportunity to be very global. So my position is a global position. So I talk to people in Japan, I talk to people in Canada, which is really close, but also Brazil, Argentina. So the view and of how you ask a question, depending on where you're working, is defining the role I bring to my team.
That that's wow, so powerful. Students, I just want to take a step back and reflect a little bit. Jose mentioned something that I don't think a lot of us have a chance to come across, and that's a global perspective, or just a chance to travel the world and see, science in different parts of the world. That's so exciting, Jose. So I mean, yes, definitely a strength. Definitely something that I hope our students can kind of see as an opportunity, right? A challenge, but also an opportunity to enter in the space as well. Students, this conversation is getting really exciting. For me personally, I hope that you can kind of see yourself, or start to see yourself, pursuing a STEM career pathway, because Jose is really getting at some of the key points that we really want you to grasp after this session. All right, we're talking a lot here, and we're nearing the end of our session. Jose, I'm loving what you're giving to us today. I just want to tie our conversation a little bit more closely to the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So we know that you work at Ultragenyx. It's a pharma company, or a company that kind of sits in the sciences fields, right?
Mhm.
What kind of motivates you to keep going when things get challenging? I know that sometimes you mentioned people might not see the same perspective you might see, or might not have the same understanding. What motivates you? What do you tap into to kind of keep you, persevering through those challenges?
So for me, it's always about patience. Anything that I do or my team does and the bigger team do together will impact patient access to a medication that may save their life or may, cure them. So, in the morning, I mean, my days are really long. Sometimes I have 12, 13 hours day of calls, and it's not easy. And it doesn't matter about my identity. It's just that science is science. You are bringing something, a device, a medication to a human. So all the steps that you have to follow before that goes into a humans are the areas that myself and my team take care of. So for me, the driver is always patient. I'm very patient centered. I have participated in clinical trials for oncology in my past. I've been doing this for a long time, but the end goal is to bring something that is very safe, and that patients find some hope. So that's my driver. Patience is like what I think every day. Yeah.
I love that. So students, I mean, if you find that you're in a chance where you're really liking something in your STEM classes, and let's say you have a project or something comes up, you're working with a partner, or you're in a group that you're not really having success in, find what really motivates you. Because I think what Jose is getting at here is really key. Having something to center you or to ground you or to just to kind of remind you, yeah, this is why I'm doing it, or this is the impact that I'm hoping to make, or even a problem that I'm trying to solve is huge, because that can help you navigate those challenging situations. Jose, thank you for mentioning that. The growth mindset is so, so powerful. And I'm loving that you as
I
a
just gonna
professional are
I just gonna add one little thing.
go ahead.
Thank you. Can I add something really quick? It's like, so remember that any area within science is
Yeah.
important. Like the people that do compliance, legal, the pharmacists, the lab people, the contract, the budget people, they all come together for the same cause, right? We are bringing access to sites that may don't have that medication, that may don't have that study. So remember, whatever field in science, it doesn't have to be as a scientist. Again, if that's what you like, go for it. You can do it. But science is supported by a big umbrella of people in different academic areas. So go for it, and never accept anybody telling that you cannot do something because you can. Just put your mind on it.
Absolutely. You were actually like half a step ahead of me there, because I was actually going to ask you for some advice, because I know that there might be some students listening and they're probably really excited. And they're like, oh my gosh, I want to find a company like Ultragenyx. I want to follow, the same pathway Jose has, because there is an opportunity for our students to, definitely fit into those spaces. You don't have to be a scientist, like you just said. So I'm thinking, those students who like science, right? They understand it, but they're not really strong in it, right? We don't consider them scholars per se, but they want to work at a STEM company. What advice would you give those students, Jose?
I think for me is that life is about knowledge. If there is an area of expertise that you like to explore that may impact science, like I have somebody that he is really good in database building. He builds databases. So he is not purely in clinical science, but he's building databases that are going to be helping clinical research to be advanced. So I guess if you have a remote idea and you want to tie down that knowledge to science, you can do it because there is a lot of different opportunities. Like I say, it doesn't have to be in the lab, which I enjoy that part of my career too. But it can be building databases, building contract grids, I don't know, regulatory quality assurance, auditing, like attention to detail. Like we need a lot of that in the field of science because everything is very regulated. So we need people that know how to find mistakes. I know everybody have that skill. So doesn't have to be a scholar. If you are, I congratulate you. But if you have any curiosity, you can actually explore any areas that you want to study and apply them into science.
Absolutely. Thank you so, so much. Students, I hope that you walked away with at least some vision, some understanding, or some inkling as to what is it like to pursue a STEM career pathway, especially as a brown person. I thank you so, so much, Jose, for giving your time this morning. As I mentioned, your perspective is so appreciated because it's not as often that we come across folks who can kind of serve as a role model to our Boston Public School students. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us and share a little bit about your story.
Thank you very much. And remember, challenges are a good way to get experience and to learn more. So be curious.
Absolutely. Let curiosity lead the way, students. As Jose just mentioned, I want to wrap us up here and say thank you to all the folks that joined us for the STEM career conversation. We will be continuing these sessions later in the school year, so feel free to tap into our BoSTEM channel. Check us out. Let us know what content you want to see. But thank you, Jose, for sharing your perspective. I hope that we can have other folks from Ultragenyx joining us as well, giving us different perspectives from different backgrounds as to what it's like to work at such an awesome company. Thank you again so, so much, educators, students, and to our special guest, Jose, for joining us for our special session. Take care. Goodbye. And Best wishes.
Bye bye.